I want to start at, I will stand upon my watch, and I will set me upon the tower, and I will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And this is what he said at the end of that, verse 4, the just shall live by faith. Say with me, the just shall live by faith. All right, so Galatians chapter 2 and verse 20 says this, I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, but it's not I, but it's Christ that liveth in me. In the life that I live now in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God. So we're on a faith journey. Say with me, I'm on a faith journey. I'm on a faith walk, and we're watching God unveil this thing, even as it relates to the launch and where we are in the building. Everything about how you got here, certainly everything about how I've got here, it's absolutely been a journey. It's been a good journey. It's been some sharp turns. All right? It's been some places I went, Lord, is this what you really said? But nonetheless, we are here, and I am honored to be here with you this morning and just kind of walk you through some stages. To talk about this faith journey, it would be a remiss of me if I wouldn't go back and start talking about the beginning. We talk about he that was called to introduce faith into the earth realm, and that person, I believe, is by the man of Abram. He is what we dub the father of faith. And his faith journey began with a separation. Remember, in a couple of lessons back, we talked about the first thing you have to do when you get this word from God, it'll start separating some things. Yes. For me, it was separating me from a city, from some family, from some relationships, and actually it was God separating me from influence. All right, there's seasons in your life, God said, you just need to get away from certain folk. Yeah. Right, look down your road and say, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You just need move, change your environment, and certainly for me, Mackinac was a major shift. I didn't know how attached I'd got to grocery stores and barber shops and expressways and traffic and pollution and trash and all that other stuff until I came here, and then all of a sudden, where are the curbs? Where are the sidewalks? Where's the traffic? Where's the horn blower? It was like Green Acres is the place to be. That's right, far living is the life for me, land spread out so far and wide. Whew. Lord have mercy. So the Bible says that Abram, from the book of Hebrews chapter 8, Abraham made this journey by faith. We know we got a couple of tag verses in the scriptures. Faith comes by what? Hearing by the word. We're going to talk about all that, but it says faith comes, but it never told us what faith is until we get to Hebrews 11:1. It says faith is. Faith is substance. So faith comes, but faith is also something. And then it says down in Hebrews 11:6, now he that cometh to God must believe that he is. So faith has its origin in the person of God himself. If you believe that he is, then you also understand he is a reward of them that diligently seek after him. So here is Abe. He's called to move out. And, you know, we talked about some of the things, some of the hindrances that was in his life, some of the people he decided to take. You know, I tell you what, any of y'all ever watch Sister Wives? About the Mormon families? And y'all, no, that's your favorite show? Huh? It's all right. You can say it's safe in here. Well, you know, you wonder, where did all this come from? Well, you know, Sarah was really Abraham's sister. So she was a sister. Y'all didn't know that. She's a sister wife. You say, well, how did that happen? Why did God allow that? Well, Adam and Eve got together, had some kids, and then it didn't say who the kids married to have the other kids. They married family. Y'all didn't know that. You just think God created somebody else and they start having kids. They intermarried. If you look at some of my people over in England, a lot of the monarchs intermarried into the family to keep what they call the gene pure. We know better than that, don't we? Mm-hmm. Look at your neighbor and say, I wanted to say this about you a long time ago. You absolutely a mess all by yourself. So what does that have to do with where we are? Well, Abraham gets into this place, and God wants to build out of Abraham a great nation, right? And so Abraham makes this or does this prophetic act. Now understand, to our knowledge, there's not another God that's been manifesting himself, speaking, talking to anybody other than Abraham. So for him to build this unusual stone structure in the middle of a field is foreign to all the land. And that he's calling on a God that he can't see. And that's the beginning of faith. What he doesn't realize, that there's seeds going down into the ground because of his prophetic act. If you all watched anything that happened on Wednesday night, something went down into the ground. Did y'all catch it? Y'all go back and look? Something went down into the ground Wednesday night. Now, I won't tell you it was good. I'm going to tell you it was better had you been here. All right? But something went down to the ground and some things got activated in this environment. And some of the residual that we all were experiencing today is because of what happened on Wednesday. And the Wednesday before that, and the Wednesday before that. And God is building. See, people can tell you, it's going on. It's hot. It's hot. What does the altar have to do with it? Well, because the altar is the place where Abraham is going to start developing this thing called faith. And a couple of things I just want to kind of pull out to you, or say to you today as we're talking about this journey of Abraham, is that along the way, we don't realize sometimes how that insignificant thing is so connected to the rest of our destiny. So he builds an altar, and right now he can't see it. There's a lot of things that we do in faith. We do prophetic acts, and we can't see how powerful those things are until down the road a little bit. So, you know, Abraham ends up going down in Egypt. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, just real quickly for a review. But then he comes back, and God sends him right back to this place. The Bible said the place is between Bethel and Hai. Bethel, we know, is the house of God. Hai is actually Ai, and it means a heap of ruins. There's nothing in that looks like the promise. The promise is not going to look like you think it is. Right? I mean, if I go back and just think about some of the things God told me about what was going to happen there, it still don't look right. Come on. Right? But so why do you keep going? Because I saw something else other than what he said. Did you hear what I saw something? I didn't say I saw something. I didn't say I heard something. I saw something. See, do you see what I'm saying? Because if you could see what he's saying, it'll position you to keep moving. Where are you going with that? Well, you ready? So God says here in Genesis chapter 12 and verse 2, God says what? 12 and 2.
And I will make thee a great nation.
All right. And God says, read it again.
And I will make of thee a great nation.
Abraham never saw that. He never physically experienced what that great nation was going to be. So how could he believe it was going to happen if he never gets to see it? What if he did see it, but he saw it in a different realm? I said, where are you going with that? Well, look up at Genesis chapter 46. So Abraham has a son. His name is what? Isaac has a son. Actually, he has two sons, and one is named Jacob and Esau. Where in Genesis chapter 46, God is now speaking to Jacob, whose name has been changed to Israel, and Jacob's son, Joseph, is already down in Egypt, and God says to Jacob, in verse 3, he said,
And he said, I am God, the God of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation.
So Egypt had an assignment on it called greatness. Now, Abraham, early on, when he first got between Bethel and Ai, he went down to Egypt because famine set in. But it was not his season to become a great nation. Are y'all listening? So Egypt had the potential of making something out of you. But it wasn't Abraham. It was something in his seed that Egypt was going to make. Are y'all listening to me? All right. So why did he move? There are things that you and I know that may not be in our lifetime. But they're going to happen, and God is allowing us to see it because it will surely come to pass. Right? So it's Jacob that God is going to use in Egypt to make a great nation. You got me? Now, so when Abraham goes down into Egypt, went back to Genesis chapter 13, he comes back, and the Bible says, and because the Pharaoh was so anxious to get Abraham out of his sight, that he gave Abraham all kind of stuff. He already had some stuff. But this time, when he comes back, it says Abraham 13:2, and Abraham was what?
And Abraham was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from south even to Bethel.
That's right.
To the place where his tent had been
That's
at the
right.
beginning, between Bethel and Ai.
That's right.
Until the place of the altar which he had made there at the first.
Uh-huh.
And there Abram called on the name of the Lord.
That's right. And
the Lord and Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents.
so both of them had accumulated some stuff because they were down in Egypt, right? Okay. So now Abraham has this divine word or divine call upon his life that nothing is going to happen until you get in this place that I have prepared for you. We call it the land. So even the land had an assignment. So the land was literally waiting for Abram to take his rightful place. So what if I told you about 37 years ago, contrary to what I thought, this community was waiting on me to show up? You said, poor Mackinac. I said, poor me. Lord have mercy. What in the world is going on? I mean, just think about it. We're not here just because you decided, oh, I'm just going to drive. And wherever my car stops, I'm going to go in. And that's going to be my new church home, for real. Certainly there are churches closer to any of us in this room, right? Places we could have worked. Matter of fact, we could have had our own service at home. The church in my four and no more, right in my house. Why here? Because there's something in the land that we need and something that the land needs from us. So God strategically moves gates into lands to usher in glory. You are here because there's a glorious sign to your gate that God wants to open in this land, in this community. You got me? Now, the land knows that. Abram knows that, but Lot doesn't have a clue. So finally, the land starts talking. Read the next verse.
And the land was not able to bear
Oh
them.
my God. The land, the assignment on the land could not bear somebody that was not of substance. Well, what do you mean? Well, Abraham was working on faith. Lot was working on accumulating. That's a whole different flow. There are people around us, they just want more stuff. They don't want more God. You know, I'm finding out the more you get of God, the less stuff you really need. God said, matter of fact, the more you hook up with me, you don't even need to pray about some stuff because I got that. Did he say that? Well, that's the spirit of what he's saying. So what is the problem? God is behind the scenes because he's trying to make another distinction. And this is where we left off, right? So in Genesis chapter 13, so finally, Lot pitches his tent toward Sodom, verse 14. And the Lord said to Abram, after
that Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever.
Okay, so where is Abraham physically? Where is he at? He's between Ai and Bethel. Okay, you got that shot for me, sir? You've got a picture of Bethel, and it's got a mile marker in between it. I want y'all to see where he's at. And God tells him where he's at. I want you to look north. I want you to look south. I want you to look east. And I want you to look west. There we go. Can y'all see that? All right, so he's somewhere in between these two places. You got me? And God says to look north. How far you think north is? A good distance? How far you think south is? It's a pretty good distance. And in east and west? Now God is saying, this is what I've given to you and your seed. Jeff, show me the next clip where it actually shows where the seed settled. Here we go. And then we're going to come back to this one. Yeah, it shows the encampment. Yeah, you see the purple outline? That is all the land that God promised to his seed. So where he was standing, do you think he could see the end of this? The bottom of this? To the west of this? Well, how then could he be convinced that God was going to do what he couldn't see? What if the word is so beyond your natural sight? God is saying, I need you to see into another dimension, another realm, and look at it from how I'm looking at it. So it was in, I think you got another shot that actually says where the tribes were. But you see how vast the area. Look at that. And get me down to Bethel. Jeff, Bethel is somewhere, see where near Benjamin is? It's somewhere in that area. Benjamin, go right above Judah. All right, right in there. Do you think that Abram could see all the way up to the top, go all the way up to the top, all the way, keep going up to the very top? You think he could see that far? See Dan way up? Guess what? He didn't even see Dan. But God has given him a word. All this belongs to your seed. He never saw it with his physical eyes. But it did not stop God from saying, listen, this is what I want you to do. I need you to do a prophetic act like you know I said this to you. Get up and walk around in this thing. So how far you think he could walk on the first day? What if I told you your one step in the spirit is about 1,000? You know, you look at it, I'm just barely making it, and God said, you don't understand how vast your prophetic act is. It may look like a little movement. It may look like a little cloud, but it's the sound of the abundance of rain. Y'all not listening to me today.
Yes. Yes.
How long do you think? Now, from where Abram was standing, go back to the first shot, between Bethel and Hai was 55 miles from one coastline to the other. You can't see 55 miles out unless you can see what I'm saying. You can't see it unless you could see what I'm saying. So God gives us these words that are so beyond our physical consciousness. But it doesn't mean they're not real or they don't already exist. What if I told you that the launch is beyond us, but sitting right in his hand? Well, what are you talking about? I mean, can you imagine Jesus up on the mountain with 5,000, didn't include the women and the children, and a little boy comes and says, hey, I got a little lunch. Yeah. The Bible said before that miracle happened, Jesus already knew what he was going to do. Y'all not saying, look at your head and say, look, I got a couple of quarters, maybe a few dollars, maybe a 10 or 50, but that certainly ain't going to build the building that you talk about. Oh, you don't know how God is counting this stuff, because God is counting the prophetic act. Not necessarily what's in your hand, because what's in your hand is not enough unless you can see what he's saying. What are you talking about? Oh, I'm going somewhere. Is this going to be juicy? Where are you going with this? See, Abraham was developing substance. Substance is faith. It says now faith is the substance of what I'm hoping for. It is the evidence of what I don't see. Hebrews 11:2 says, for by it the elders obtained a good report. Now look, I'm going to move real fast now. You ready? Well, land in Hebrews just for a moment. Hebrews 11. Well, what is faith? It said faith is substance. You know what? Substance is that which hath foundations. That which is actually existence, substructure, foundation. That thing underneath, infrastructure, behind the scenes, unseen, invisible. So faith is what I can't see. So then what I don't see is really the substructure for what I do see. Right? So faith, what I don't see is actually substance. And then it says, it is the, don't that sound like Kenneth? Don't that sound like Pop Hagen? The evidence. Evidence is the proof by which there is proven or tested. It's a conviction. All right? So what do you mean? Well, are you in Hebrews chapter 11? So this thing called faith, substance, foundation, right? That which actually existed. It said, through faith we understand, verse 3, that
the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
Okay, so wait a minute. Through faith, we do what? Through faith.
We understand.
We just said faith is substance is that which is foundation, which actually is in existence. It's substructure, it's foundation, it's infrastructure, it's the unseen, it's invisible. It says, through faith, we understand that
worlds.
Well, which one are we in right now? Which world are we in? God said worlds were framed. And if there are worlds, then there are other planes of existence other than the one you and I are sitting in right now. Said, I can't get what you're saying, the ET and UFOs and all this stuff is real. Well, you a UFO and an ET. We're all those. This is not our world. We were sent into this one. We didn't start here. We were not born here. God sent us here. All right? So what world do you want to evolve around today? Wow. Said through faith we understand that the worlds were framed. That's an interesting word. Frame. Let's look at that word. Frame. Frame means this: to mend, to fix, to complete, to put in order, prepared, arranged, adjusted, equipped. So these worlds were framed by the what? By a word. So God put a word in motion that began mending, fixing, completing, putting in order, preparing, adjusting, arranging, equipping worlds. He didn't do it all in one day. He didn't do it all in one season. There are things in this world that are yet to be manifested, that are hanging out in another world until some of us have enough faith to call it into existence. What are you talking about? So that the things which are seen were what?
Were not made of things which do appear.
So we're sitting in a tangible, I mean, you could reach out, you can feel the chair, you can breathe the air, but it did not originate here. It originated in a realm that we don't see. Yes. Am I clear? Yes. All right. Now look at 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Come on, y'all. I started early. Y'all watching my time? I started early so I can walk it out. I just need some people to get with me. All right. Now, verse 18. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18. While we
look not at those things which are seen,
all right,
but
put your hand in your pocket. Said, I don't feel too much down in there.
Things which are seen.
I can't keep looking at what I can't feel down in my pocket. Right? All right. Grab your billfold, grab your wallet, say, I can't go by this. Huh? You might have an old bank statement says, certainly can't look at that one. Boy, that'd be terrifying if I look at that. Well, God says you just can't keep looking at the things that are seen, because the things that you are looking at are temporary. The things which cannot be seen are eternal. So God showed Abraham something in an eternal realm beyond what he could physically. He's in a land that don't look like prosperity. It don't look like the promise. It doesn't look like a great nation. But then God took him to another room and showed him a world. Now, I want to use this word because it just might just put it in perspective. The word worlds here is universe. Through faith we understand that universes were framed. So which one you want to orbit in today? Oh, that sounds crazy. Sound new age. Next thing you're going to be doing, next thing you know, you're going to be floating and levitating. I'm floating and levitating every Wednesday night. Come see it if you want to. That's going on already. What are you talking about? What are you saying? I'm talking about how God set up these realms and these worlds. Now look, I'm going back. All right, y'all didn't like that. I'm going back to Hebrews chapter 11. Y'all didn't like that. I felt y'all turn the page. So I'm just gonna turn the page because y'all didn't want me to talk about all that kind of stuff. Where do you think they get all that stuff from? Solomon said, there's no new thing under the sun. We hear them say, oh, that's new age. Oh my God. Oh. God set all this up. And everything we refuse to go back to God and get an understanding is we going to label it taboo. Everything. All right, here we go. Hebrews 11 and 13. All right. This is a verse. I'll read the verse. Maybe it'll pull you back in. These all died.
These all died in faith.
Yeah, you sound solemn when you say it too. These all died.
Not having received the promises.
But
having seen them afar off.
Wait. They never got it, but they saw it. Amen. They never got it, but they saw it. So Abram never saw the inheritance of his great-grandchildren. He wasn't there. Didn't mean he didn't see it. Right? Well, how does that work? Well, it says he saw them afar off, and then he put some prophetic act with what he saw. It said he...
And were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims in the land.
All right, I need you to do some body ministry. All right. Can you see it? Are you persuaded that what you can't see is going to happen, even though you may not see it? All right. Will you embrace it? And then will you talk about it? Huh? See, those are prophetic acts that says, I believe what God has said. I may not get it, but somebody in my seed is going to inherit this promise. Right? So what do you say? Faith sees something. Faith looks into the supernatural, unmanifested realm, gets a vision of what God is saying is in another day, and then pulls it through a confession into a manifestation. So I want you to use your faith to get a look at what God said he was going to do, and then pull it into manifestation through some level of prophetic act. Well, what does the act have to be? Maybe you just need to get up and walk around in it. All right, y'all didn't like that. Okay. Genesis chapter 2, yeah. Say something. You can't see what I'm saying yet? You still can't see? Thank you, Tiffany. See, you said, well, I was going to wait till it was an appropriate time. When you see it, it's time to get up and walk away. You don't need to wait for an appropriate time. I said, I just need to step. I said, what are you talking about? See, when people talk faith, oh, faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of the Lord. Well, faith without works is going to be dead. Your work is the prophetic act that you put on there, say, you know what? And guess what? When Abraham built that altar, he looked kind of crazy. You've got to be willing to look kind of crazy for a moment. Listen, what we're talking about in the launch, if folk heard about it, said that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. How they gonna do this? Well, how is connected to he that said it. Y'all not getting it yet. I wish I was here Wednesday night because God said, you know what? It's like he was pointing us to an invoice. And the invoice had line items, and they all should add up to this. You know what he said about the bottom line? 0. I just need a couple of witnesses that was here. Didn't he say it? Well, what do you think he meant? He meant was, you have not figured in me in this equation. What are you talking about? See, I've got to get to the point that God is saying, listen, I don't need your quarters to make a miracle happen. I need your faith. I need your confidence that I have said it and I'm going to make. Now listen, he didn't say don't give. He's just saying understand that when you turn that little bit and put it in my, I can take it to a whole nother level. Universal. What are you talking about? God said I can take it universal. I'm not limited to who I want to use and how I want to do it. Y'all still in the room? Yes, sir. Well, how do you think all this is going to happen? Well, how do you think all this that happened thus far is going to happen? I mean, we've been walking it a long time. How do you think all that happened? And we're still here. How do you think that happened? I mean, I can look back 37 years and everything that happened because he said it was going to happen. I may not have liked how it happened, but it happened just like he said. So I'm looking at the invoice, I'm on schedule. What does that have to do with where we are? See, faith says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So God is saying, I'm equipping you to look into a realm that's not seen yet and call it into existence. Well, where does that come from? Genesis chapter 2. You with me? Come on. You got to move fast. How are we doing, Sir Jeff? Okay. All right. Genesis chapter 2, verse 4. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth. They are the what? The heavens and of the earth. They're the generations, right? They're the generations. When we talk about generations, we're talking about genealogies. He's talking about peoples. He's talking about seed, all right? So in the beginning, when God made the heavens and the earth, God aligned, birth, created, everybody that was going to walk in these realms. Everybody is in that group. But then it says what? These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth. Generations, people, and then? When they were created in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Okay, so I was created in this day, in this generation thing, but then I was made on a day. So there are things that are still hanging out in this generational realm, this universal realm called generations, that are waiting on their day for manifestation. Is that clear? Now, then it tells us like what? Verse 5, every plant of the field before it was in the earth. So where was it before it got in the earth? The generations of the heavens. It was in the generations of the heavens and the earth. And then it was going to have a day that it was going to show up in the earth. And then there was what? I think it is, but ain't nobody getting excited but you and me. Keep reading. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth. And every herb of the field before it grew. So before the herb grew, where it was hanging out? In the generations, waiting on its day for manifestation. Right? So there are things that we don't see yet that are still hanging out in the generations waiting for a day. I'm asking you, you can see the day any day you want to. You can sit right where you are and look into a day. Remember? He saw it afar off. So what made him believe what he saw that was still afar off? I'll tell you in a minute. Let's keep going. All right, keep going. And every herb of the field before it grew, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. Say there was not a man. There was no man around to till it, to work it, to believe it. The word till is our priest word, wait. So do you know that every time we come together, we're performing the duty of the priest. We're giving, we're serving, we're sacrificing, we're worshiping. And the more we till that ground, the more we're going to see the other day. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So my worship experience is connected to my ability to see the day and to pull it into manifestation. It's called wait. What do you mean? Just sit there in the chair? I'm not just sitting here in the chair. Every time I open up my mouth and acknowledge who he is, that brings me just that much closer to a manifestation. Y'all don't believe that either. Is this how y'all going to be the rest of my few minutes? We don't know. We don't know. We don't know if we're going to get with you or not. We don't know. Okay, all right. I'll just get, thank you. I'm going to get with myself here in a minute. All right, I'm going to tell you how to happen. All right, so when we talk about the generational realm and the manifested realm, you know they are coexisting. We're looking at two universes, an unseen one and a seen one. Huh? One that's waiting to be manifested and the other one that's already created. How do we bridge those two? Huh? Well, we've got to get the mind of God with dispensation timing, and we also got to have what I call an experience. Abraham's journey, it didn't start with a word, it started with a visit. See, I'm going back now and looking over the last seasons of this ministry, and we've had visitations. Y'all know about that? Why y'all still talking to me and looking the same way? We've had visitations. Why do you think God was doing that? Nobody's going to answer the question. All right, maybe I need to qualify what I'm saying. How many of you have experienced what you call angels, presence, felt glory in this room? Why do you think that was happening? To increase our faith and to let us know God was going to do what he's going to do. Keisha? To let us know that we were not alone. And yes, Sidney? To prepare us for the next. Well, God said, I'm sending an angel. I'm going to send an angel to get you to the place of the promise.
Yes, sir. All right. Yes, sir.
Y'all don't believe? Y'all thought I just made up that verse. Huh? God said, behold, I send my angel before you to bring you into the place that I have prepared. So all of that glory, all of that manifestation with God is saying, I'm trying to move you into this place that I'm prepared. Now, it ain't a room. It's a place where you believe that God is going to continue to do what he's been saying. It's not a destination. It's a room. It's a realm. It's a universe to allow you to see some. Oh, y'all didn't like that either. All right. All right. Acts chapter 7, real quick. Are we doing okay? Thank you. Acts chapter 7. Acts chapter 7. I guess I'm just not going to finish this today. I thought I was. All right. Acts chapter 7 in verse 2.
And he said, men, brethren, the fathers hearkened. The Lord, the God of glory, appeared unto our father. The God of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia before he dwelt in Haran.
Who visited Abraham? He was in heathen church. Who showed up? So God showed up and then started having a conversation with Abraham. So the first thing Abraham saw was glory. It said glory appeared. God revealed himself. You know, God is spirit. You know, and unless spirit take upon some kind of form, we can't see it. So God manifested himself in a form that Abraham could see him. And that's the pattern. So there would be times in Abraham's walk. My time is short, so I'm just going to run this. There were times along the journey, it said, and God said. And then it said, and God appeared. And then he said, and then he appeared. See, all of this was to build Abraham's faith. So God showed up first, then he said. So Abraham was acquiring an ear to hear what he couldn't see. All right? And then God said, but I want you to see what I'm saying. I just don't want you to hear it. I want you to see what I'm saying. So God would walk Abraham in these supernatural realms like, can you see north? Can you see south? Can you see east and west? Well, no, not physically. Hop on. Let me take you somewhere so you could see it. Right. Hop on what? Do y'all remember as a kid, my parents used to say, we're going for a ride in the country. Now, Mama, I don't know where the country was around Cincinnati, but I remember driving out somewhere in the car, and all the 10 of us in the car, you could barely breathe with all 10 of us up in that car. But we would go for a ride in the country. Little did I know, I was going to end up in the country. Prophetic act. Y'all not on board yet. I'm trying to bring you on board. Right? But it just seems so far away. You know, just took us so long to get there. You're like, oh my God. Right? So it's kind of like this. I mean, it's like I'm driving on Sunday night trying to find Mackinac, and they're like, are we there yet? Lord have mercy. This is taking a long time. Bloomington? Okay. Turn left? Got darker? Got black? No, this cannot be God. And you know what happened? I stepped in the room and had a visitation. Now, I can look back on it now and say, God said, I sent an angel before you to prepare you for the place that I was about to send you. You didn't see it like that, but I was certainly doing what I do. God. Yeah. Where are you going with this? See, God is trying to build this muscle in Abraham called faith, but he keeps having these encounters. See, faith says that God is. So the origin of your faith, you got to get a picture of, he ain't the little baby Jesus in a manger playing with a rattle. That ain't the God we serve. That's not him. Huh? He sits upon the thrones of the universe. He upholds all things by the power of his word. He will never be dethroned. He is God all by himself. He don't need a prop. He don't go on vacation. He doesn't sleep. He's got the very hairs of your head. Whether you lost all of it, he's still got them numbered. What does that have to do with the God that we serve? Stay put, stay put. You ready? So where are you going with this? I believe along the journey that God is giving Abraham secrets. Secrets are revealed in a secret place. So a relationship is developing. Wait a minute. Where are you going with this? How would Abraham have known God? See, that's the question. So Bishop, you're about to take this church in this major campaign. How do you know it's God? You know, people going to follow you because you kind of charismatic, you kind of funny at times, I mean, but, you know, what makes you think you're going to be able to steer this whole bunch of people and you think God's going to do what you say he's going to do? What about 175 people? Where did you get, what math book have you been reading? How do you come up with that equation? Y'all still in the room? How do you think that's going to flow like that? Well, that's a good question. Well, how do you know he's going to make good on that word? I mean, really? You really want us to get out there on this boat with you? How did Abraham know that the visitation was from God? Come on, y'all. I don't know if God is talking to you like that. I mean, what did he say? Did the bird swoop down on the windshield? How do you know that was God? Well, Titus says this, Titus chapter 2. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men. See, you were made by him, and you're going to know your daddy when he shows up. See, the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men. I don't care what church, what faith, what group, what origin, what town, what country you live in. When glory shows up and you know that you were created for, you will come face to face with that thing that spoke you, and there's no denying God. It's kind of like an object. You can deny, oh, that was just a crazy, but you cannot deny the move of the Spirit and how much better you felt when you left the room. So I believe when this glory showed up, Abram was able to recognize that this is God. This is really God. This is really supernatural move from God. And he kept moving with it. You know, we grow into this. We're growing into depths. We're growing into revelation. We're growing into this intimate place with God. And the more we walk with him, the more we come in agreement with him. And the more we come in agreement with him, God said, now I want to show you some other stuff that I'm doing. Like what? He said, well, guess what? Your eyes have not seen it. Your ears have not. Neither have. But God hath revealed them unto us by his what? Now listen. Do you remember? It said, for the Spirit searcheth all things, Yea, the what? So God said, I got some stuff that's still in the deep. What do you mean in the deep? It means in the abyss. Uh-oh, there's another one of those words, the abyss. We connected that to Leviathan and the devil and all this other. Well, it was the Spirit of the Lord that moved upon the face of the deep, the abyss. All the deep was a covering for what we couldn't see yet. And it was the Spirit of the Lord that moved upon that thing that was dark, waiting for God to call something out of what was dark into manifestation. So God is saying, if you would just allow me to take you by my Spirit into some deep things. Y'all not there yet. Okay. One more. Can I give you one more? You're probably going to get mad at this, right? So it is the Spirit's job. It said, the Spirit searcheth or examines the deep, even the deep things of God. Genesis 1 and 2, it was darkness that was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of the Lord moved. That word moved means to hover, to brood, to start arranging things. All right, y'all not hearing me. Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 10, and then we're going to stop. Ezekiel 1 and verse 10 starts describing these living creatures that are around the presence of the Lord. And it said whenever they move by the Spirit. The word Spirit there is the same Spirit in Genesis chapter 1. It is the Ruach. Come on. So these living creatures are our escorts in the spirit realm, right? And why did God choose them? Because they've got eyes to see. Thank you, Angela. Everybody else said. So, how many times have y'all heard me talk about the living creatures? Said, almost every week, preacher. Well, why do you keep talking about it? Because they are the escorts that are moving and attached to the Spirit of God that are there to help you navigate and see into a realm that you cannot see yet. And the more we talk about them, the more faith is going to come. Faith comes by hearing by others. So the more I talk about it, you say, well, I'm just going to get on board one of these days and soar with you. Yeah, get up on the eagle. Ooh, and when you get up in the sides of the north, that's where the eagle dwells. Lord have mercy. You say, well, what good is all this experience and all this exposure and all this supernatural throne escort, translate, navigate, whatever you ask. Don't say the word astral project. Oh my God, you said the word. What is all this stuff that you're talking about? I'm talking about movement in a realm. I'm talking about movement in places of God. Well, what is it for? Because the more you hang out in this realm, the more you're going to open up your gate, because people are assigned to come through that gate, and they're going to need to be able to touch God. Yeah. And the more you touch him, the more they're going to be able to touch him through you. The more we touch him, the more people are going to be able to touch God through us. Right? But we've got to see. We're in a community. Our community is still devastated by the loss of a child. Somebody's going to have to help our community see that maybe this seed went into the ground to birth something else that we can't see yet. You said, well, that's kind of harsh. Where's the compassion? There's a whole lot of compassion in that. But our lives have been paid by the bloodshed of somebody else since we've been here. God's doing the same thing. It's something about a life that makes us value life. Yes, sir. Yeah. You say, well, what do I need to see? That God has assigned some supernatural forces to us to help us get to the place of destiny. You ready? Close the book. Close the book. Close the book. I guess I'm the only one excited. A few others. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.